Hey guys, welcome back to Column Connection. I'm Will, joined by the Fossil up there in Patterson Lakes. How you feeling, Fossil?
Yeah, not too bad. Will yourself? Well, yeah, a bit chilly now. The day was all right. The sun was out, but she's bloody cold now. So sitting back inside, yeah, well, we got the 4 points, Will, but that was about it, I think.
Yeah, well, as McRae said, it was a lovely winter's day, but 62,000 rocking up, so awesome job there. And what I heard, not a lot of Richmond supporters, so well done there to the Magpie Army. I wish I could have got up there from Tassie, but anyway, a win's a win, Fossil, and that's what we'll take this week. So, yeah, firstly, your first thoughts of the game.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, she was a hard watch, Will. Like at times they looked okay, William, but I think our connection, from the midfield inside 50 and that needs to be worked on. And they spoiled each other a lot too, William, when they were going for marks, And when you're playing the second bottom side, we kicked 15-16, which is not too bad, but they could probably should have won by a bit more. But 4 points is 4 points, but there's a few players there they'll have to keep an eye on them because there's a few in the sectors pushing up, Will, to take their positions. But we'll talk about that later on in the segment.
Yeah, well, that's what you want. The seconds, they had a nice win there against the Tigers as well, which, was expected, but, they can only put their hands up and get the job done. So, yeah, like you said, a pretty scrappy affair. And it just seemed like every time we went to kick away and got a decent lead, we just let them kick a couple. And, maybe that was all part of the plan. But like you said, we'll get into that later. That first quarter, honestly, 2, 3, 15 apiece, we were probably lucky to be that close, Fossil. It was pretty ordinary start. The Tigers had most of the play, and Nick Daicos up forward, only the three touches, but most importantly, the two goals in that are only two goals for the quarter. So shows that he can be very dangerous in front of goal. One holding the ball and one from a 50, which is a little bit fortunate, but you got to take them as they come to you. And like I said, the scores were all tied up. It's not a great start, but when you're getting beaten and you're still in the game, that's you got to take the positives out of that. So anyway, the second quarter, Foss.
Yeah, the second quarter they decided to play a bit of football for a change. We kicked 6-3, 39 to one goal, but I thought, yeah, they moved the ball fairly well, William. And I think on the lead up, well, we look a lot better when the players lead up the ground. Like a couple of times there, they bombed it in the air, and I don't know what it's like at the G, whether it's a noise or anything, Will, but they didn't seem to be talking or they couldn't hear one another, and we spoiled each other a lot. And we probably could have kicked a few more, but when they led up for the ball, they looked really, really good. Schultz, like he plays, way outside his weight division. I think he's doing a bit of a Jamie Elliott role. Will he goes, has a go at everything, but he has a dip, and I think that's that's why I like him so much. It doesn't matter who they're playing each week. He seems to get out there and tries his hardest. Where I think, there at one stage there, to look at the field and looked like they were just going for a bit of a stroll in the park, Will. But anyway, it was a good quarter, 6-3, 39, and the back line was nice and steady again. Will keeping them down to one goal. So they, as they have been all year, Will, they're very consistent and doing a magnificent job.
Yeah, exactly. You take that second quarter is pretty much where the game was decided. But unfortunately, I'm going to roll through this third quarter, and on paper, it doesn't look that bad. Foss, we kicked 3-4-22 to 4-3-27, the Tigers, but it's a way we started the quarter really well, and we just looked like we're about to kick away. I think we got out to about 40-point lead, but the shocking habits started to creep back into our game, which I don't think we can afford if we're going to make any sort of charge for qualifying for the top 10. They just started to butcher several opportunities to score. No one was on the goal line when Membry had that shot and it got touched right on the goal line, but that Richmond player left his man about 10 meters out. I think it's a sin if anyone's having a shot from 40 meters plus. It just has to be somebody there because could have just shepherded that through. Collingwood would have gone out to 7-8 goal lead, and then Membry again. I don't know what he was doing, but he had all the time in the world. He snaps quickly around the body and doesn't make the distance from 20 out. And I know these will look like little things that, maybe we shouldn't be focusing too much on, but it's all those little things that count, especially going up to the Gold Coast next week. The boys have to be switched on and ready to go. So it was just very frustrating to see these habits creep back into our game. And the last 15 minutes of that quarter was really owned by the Tigers, and they took their opportunities going forward. And even that miss at the three-quarter time siren, we were up by 28 points. It could have easily been 23. And, you never know if we didn't start that well in the fourth quarter, Richmond might have just crept their way back into the game. So I was very disappointed by that third quarter. People might say it's Richmond, they were taking the foot off the pedal, but it's just those bad habits you don't want to see. And Fly can't afford to brush this off, I think, is just a bad patch of footy. I think he's got a, which I'm sure they'll roll through the tapes, but I'm just hoping they're making more of a focus on that, just the way we butchered the footy going forward. And then on the counter, we weren't defensively good enough against the Tigers of, second bottom team. Like you said, we could have smashed them, but you just can't afford to switch off.
Yeah, no, well said, Will. I agree with you 100%. The other thing too, William, what I was thinking too, with the crowd noise there, but we seem to be getting caught a lot. Like players were out on their own, but they were getting run down. Or I don't know whether the players around or they were too far away. They were telling them clear, but I reckon I could count 4 or 5 times where we had, beautiful position to get the ball inside 50 and goal, and we got caught about 4 or 5 times. So I don't know what's going on there, whether it's lack of talk or just a crowd noise. But yeah, it didn't look real good. They did the hard work to get it there, but they got caught, just outside the 50, which probably cost us another 4 or 5 goals, William.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't afford that. But I think we were fortunate. We were playing against the Tigers, and anyway, they got the job done. That fourth quarter, Fossil.
Yeah, the fourth quarter, well, I think they just went through the motions, William. I tell you what, we kicked 4 goals, six. They could, like you said, we should have won by 10 goals, William. I don't care what anybody says, to 4 goals straight. But yeah, like the back line was really good, and the forward pressure wasn't too bad. But I'm just a bit concerned about this forward setup. Buller looked good. Willie took a couple of good, strong marks. So hopefully they persist with him, and McStay goes up the ground, memory goes up the ground. At least we've got somebody there that can take a mark, and if they can't knock it to ground, that like I said, Chilchie was good, but a little bit disappointing. The young fellas didn't do much, Swadling and Steele and Harrison, but I know they're only young and they're still learning their craft. But I think William, there's a couple in the twos, Anderson, Coe, and Ryan have put their hand up. They all played fairly well, so hopefully they'll have a look at them, and all they do is play well in the twos and put their hand up and put pressure on the ones that aren't performing. But in the end, it was, what will I say, 4 goals, six to 4 goals straight. But yeah, it looked like they were just waiting for the siren to ring, William. But we got the 4 points, and that's all we can do.
Yeah, and we'll have to take it Fossil and move on. But just wanted to quickly touch on Rowan Steele, your boy. You've been pumping him up all year, and rightfully so. He's been a good pickup since last year. But the last 2 weeks, he's 19 disposals in total and a lot of running as he always does. But if I'm not saying to drop him, I'm just saying if he has a bad game against Gold Coast coming up, do they maybe look at I know people they'll probably cop for saying this Fossil, but is he just maybe getting a bit tired, or do you think it's just he's not in the right positions? What's sort of happening there?
Yeah, well, it can happen, William, because I remember, years ago it was the same. Like they did really well. They had a young side. They did up to round 14. They were okay, and then after 4 or 5 games in a row, if they get hit by the bigger bodies, it might knock the stuffing out of them a bit, or they just go off the boil a little bit. But yeah, they've got guys there that they can rotate with him. They can bring him back in and then take him back to the twos. Like Pulaski was a good example. He went back, kicked 4 goals, 4 marks. So that's all he can do. Keep putting his hand up. And if somebody falters in the forward line, well, I'll give him another crack. That's all they can do. Just keep rotating him around. And, I'm sure, Steele, he'll come back. But, if he has another poor one, like you said, they might look at dropping him and giving somebody else a crack.
Yeah, exactly. Now, fair call there, and we'll move on to the negative. So the Pies, yeah, they pretty much just kept them at arm's length, and I reckon there's a few tactics outside of that, but that's for later on. Fossil questions for Fossil. We'll do that at the end of the show. But just want to say the negatives. It was that third quarter, and also I swear if another player hand passes to Dan Houston on the run, especially when they're in range. We spoke about this after the game, Foss, but the likes of DeGoey especially, if you've got McStay, Nick Daicos, but any young fella that's maybe 50 meters out, not sure of the distance, that's fair enough. But otherwise, I think he's about 0 from 6 this year. I think they got to just stop hand passing the ball to Houston because he did it about 3 times against the Hawks earlier in the year, and I think he only scored from one of them, which was a behind. So, just don't he doesn't necessarily need a call for it, so I blame him as well. But just telling the players do not hand pass off to Houston just because he's running past there, and we know he's a booming kick, but he just seems to have lost the magic since coming to the black and white. So anyway. That's one negative for me. Fossil, what about some positives out of the game?
Yeah, no, yeah, the back line's really good again, William, and like they look good in patches, but there's players going in and out, and like when they're on, they look really, really good, but then all of a sudden they just sort of go to sleep for a while, and when you're playing sides like I think the Tigers have only won 2 games, but the positive, I suppose, we had a good even spread, and De Goey and Daicos boys and Houston was okay, and Cripps and those sort of blokes, like they're pretty consistent. But I'd just like to see that forward line set up. Well, we need to run towards the ball and our delivery, but there wasn't a lot of positive out of it. The win was a win, but hopefully the boys can step it up a notch next week because it won't be easy up there. And these are the games that we've got to win, Will, if they want to get into that top 10.
Exactly. The next three games are those 8 point sort of games. Fossils, the Gold Coast, that game's just started over there in Perth, so we'll see how that one plays out. But Gold Coast, North Melbourne, Carlton, they're three teams. I think if we win all three, we're going to put ourselves in a really good position to have a go at the top 10. But if we lose one or two of those, I think it might be nearly curtains on 2026. So anyway, we'll see how that pans out. The CC Player of the Year votes for us, Fossil. You're 3-2-1.
Well, you can't go past the Masters, 37 and 3 goals. Whittle, I gave him three. Schultz, I thought, to kick 4 goals, and he's doing the Elliott type job. He's flying for everything. And if he's not flying, at least he's trying to tackle and putting pressure on. So I was thinking Schultz, he had a very good game. I gave him two. The third vote was a bit of a raffle, but I gave it to De Goey. Well, he had 27 kicked a goal, 7 marks, and 4 goal assists. So another good day at the office for Geordie, and he's playing very, very well. Will.
Yeah, exactly. No, I had the same 3-2-1 Fossil, except swap Schultze with De Goey there. Nick Daicos, BOG. De Goey was pretty close, except I think 4 goal assist in the end, but Nick Daicos just found a way to put it through the big stick. So 37 and 3 goals. I hope the umpires are paying attention, which I'm sure they are. And Schultze, that 4 goals, that was I think he kicked two last week as well, so he's starting to fill the boots up a bit for all the hard work he does. So no, it's really good to see Schulte, get a bit of reward for effort there. And to our season tally on the leaderboard, there's been a change. Houston, one of his better games. I'll give him his flowers. 28 touches and started to look more like himself. So he's still in the top three for the season total. But Nick Daicos is flying on 53 votes between us. De Goey 21, the new one there, number two, and Dan Houston on 19. So pretty even all round after Daicos, but De Goey starting to really shine. The last 6 weeks have been absolutely awesome. So baby time hasn't faltered him one bit, Fossil. But anyway, the game day prediction result, guys, the $50 voucher that was up for grabs. Thank you, everyone, for sending through. We had 61 guesses, Fossil, and Scott Brown, 5 goals and 62 disposals, got it spot on. We did have four other people have 5 goals. There was 61, 63, 64, and 66 disposals, Fossils. So they were red hot this week, but Scott Brown's a lucky one. He got the $50 voucher because he got it right on the nose. So well done there, Scott.
Yeah, well done, Scotty. Good boy. You see, that's what happens when they listen to the Fossil William. They sort of do that. They listen to Fossil's homework and then they pick, and then there you go. Well done, Scotty. Good boy.
He's going to say this every time, guys. The Fossil, he likes to claim anything he can. So, as I said, we're going to finish this off with questions for Fossil because I had a couple and we got a couple coming through on the messages. Fossil. So, from myself, are we not going? Do you think we're not going full throttle at the moment to keep ourselves fresh for the upcoming games, or is it closer to this is our standard regardless of the opponent? Because we've been in a lot of games this year. We didn't get the chocolates against a better side. So do you think that the last couple of weeks it's get the job done, keep yourselves fresh and move on? Or have we shown that this is our level right now with a few of the players that we're missing, but also just not quite clicking for 4 quarters straight?
Yeah, no, it's a bit of both. Yeah, I think well, to me, it looks like the last couple of weeks they've just taken for granted they're going to get the 4 points. I know the players don't think like that, but they just seem to be going it through the motions a bit. And yeah, well, hopefully they can step it up. But yeah, it doesn't look real good at the moment, Will. But like we said, they're getting their 4 points. But next week I'll tell you what, they'll be wanting on the ball, William. I'll tell you, because playing them up there won't be as easy as they've had it the last couple of weeks. But yeah, to me, it looks like they seem to turn it on for a little while, Will, and then they get far enough in front so the game's out of reach, and then they seem to, I don't know whether it's just slowing it down and running the clock off, but it didn't look good at times, and then other times it didn't look too bad. So I think they just sort of going through, getting the 4 points, and then setting themselves up for a big one next week.
Yeah, well, let's hope so. That's what it was, and not just our standard of football that wasn't really keeping up with the best teams. So the next one here, Fossil. Yeah, for the first 10 minutes of the fourth quarter, McStay was off, and maybe that was time for his rotation. But it looked like they were looking at a forward line structure with Schultz leading out of the square, much like a Jamie Elliott. Do you think while we're still in the window to qualify for the top 10, they're looking at a smaller forward line setup with McStay and Membry, maybe surrounded by the smalls, because it seems like they really did target that in the fourth quarter? Or do you think like it's great we're getting games into Buller and West, but do you think they're experimenting, or do you think that's what they're trying to shape for 2026 and then look at those other options if we were
Yeah,
out of touch?
yeah, no, I think you're on the ball there, William, because I remember years ago they did it. They played Essendon, and Essendon were fairly tall, and Collingwood, I think they had one tall and five quicks. They ended up rolling them, so they might look at that because the thing is, though, if you've got McStay, Membry, and say Buller, you need to keep those three down there. Well, that's why I've been trying to get Coe as a second ruck so they can get established. But sometimes they did with Elliott. They played Elliott out of the square. And like if they had McStay one side, Buller the other side, and Membry up the ground, and then depending where the ball's coming from, they can get out one on one so they're not crashing into one another. Like on Saturday, there's about 4 or 5 times they both flew for marks and they spoilt one another. One had to stay down and would have been a simple mark, shot at goal, 15 or 20 out. But I think, yeah, Shilshy out the square and maybe a tall either side, Membry up the ground. I think that's what they've got to look at. But they need to keep that structure. That's why I know I keep banging on, but they need a second ruck and then they can just rotate Cameron and go off the bench. Because if McStay goes into the ruck and throws all that to the Shizenhausen, you
Yeah,
know what I mean? And you only got two talls.
it still keeps them short though, because if McStay's a backup ruck and Membry's, the only he's a medium tall, but if he's the only tall target, then it is a problem though that we come up against a side like Hawthorn, which we will, later in the year, that they've got those, tall defenders in Battle, and I've forgotten the other guy's name, sorry, but they're just going to eat them alive because there's going to be no one there to contest. So they're trying to find this balance. And on the weekend, we both predicted McStay would fill his boots, but he was playing a lot higher up the ground, which gave Buller and Membry these opportunities. So I think they're trying to find that balance. And in my eyes, two talls and a medium tall like Membry is probably the way they should go. I think right now they're just trying to see is it Buller, West, or Padaski? Are they the three? I think McStay and Membry have pretty much cemented their spots at the moment, but I think between those three, they might just have to rotate going forward just to see, because we can't obviously play them all. We even struggle when we play four of them. So maybe they'll just try and see if, what's the right mix going forward.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there, William. Like you said, with the Hawthorn, they got the three tools, and if we got three tools there, it makes them accountable. Well, or else I'll just sag back and I'll mark everything all day. Sisley and Barras and the other fellow, I forgot his name too. Will, but anyhow, so that's why I reckon they need the three tools there to make them accountable. And if they can get them one out, and we can beat them, or if not, they can bring it to the ground, and then the little fellas can go to work.
Sounds about right. Little fossils running around there in the forward line fossil,
That's
but
it. That's it. That's it. Will.
and two fan questions here. So thanks for sending them in, guys, and I'll try to get as much as I can each week to the Foss. One from Hazza first up. He says, Fossil, who has been your favourite Collingwood player from the year 2000 onwards, and who was your favourite player prior to 2000?
Peter Daicos, he wasn't a bad player. He was my favourite, Will. He was absolutely unbelievable. And
Yep.
from 2000 on, was it, Will, the other one?
Yeah, we said
Yeah,
from 2000
Steel
onwards. Yeah.
Steely side bottom, William. He's always been my favourite boy. I just like the way he goes about it, especially in his younger days, and even right up to now, he just ran and ran and ran, and he did the whole 4 quarters, Will, and I just loved him. He's a gentleman, and just the way he plays the game, he's a good example for the young kids to watch, William, and they'll learn a lot.
Exactly. And
So hopefully
hopefully,
that answers his question.
I was going to say, let's enjoy. Hopefully, the last, in my opinion, the last year of Sidey, but hopefully he can string together a few games. And he actually found some space on the weekend. So I think as the game went on, he really started to warm to the task. So it was good to see Sidey getting back to what we expect. A couple of years ago, just before the last question, we sent you the. Fossil got a video after the 2023 grand final win, and Sidebottom did a personalized video, and that was absolutely awesome. So
Yeah,
that's,
well, yeah, no, he's a great man. I'll tell you what, we're lucky to have him, and he's been an absolute champion of the club. And just like I said, the way he conducts himself and that, he's a good example for the young kids.
exactly. And the last one here, well, it's a comment from Paul as well, but he said, "Winner, winner, chicken dinner. We'll take the 4 points, but who goes out if Maynard is available next week? Go Pies." So,
Maynard's not
Fossil.
available. He's a couple of weeks away, William, but well, maybe unfortunately, probably one of the young fellas. I don't know what sort of setup for maybe Harrison, maybe Harrison. Maybe Harrison gives Swaddling another chance and maybe Steele another chance. So, but I think they said that he might be 2 weeks away, Will. But you know what Maynard's like? He's pretty tough. It's probably 2 weeks for everybody else, but he can come back in one. But I think if he did come back, I'd say probably Harrison. I
Well, he's
think he'll
missed.
probably make way.
Yeah, well, he's missed the last two, and like you said, he's gonna put his hand up. He's tough as nails. He would have played against Richmond probably if they let him. But yeah, if he doesn't come in, then it'd be interesting who does get the flick. But Harvey Harrison being a precious small forward, so maybe someone in the VFL comes in there. But if Maynard was available, yeah, it's going to be pretty squeezed for selection. And I'd hate to say swaddling, but when you look at the rest of them and Houston finding form, yeah, it'd be pretty interesting if he's available. So we'll find out come Thursday, I guess, or during the week. We'll see if he's looking like set. So thanks for sending that in, guys, and thanks for that, Paul. And lastly, Fossil. No, I think that's all it for this week. Actually, we're yeah, sure time here, but. No, thanks for that, guys, and congratulations again to Scott for winning the competition. So don't stress; it'll be on next week, guys. You'll have a crack at the Gold Coast as well, and hopefully we can get some more winners on the board by season's end. And if the Pies make the finals, Fossil said he'll donate $50 to the voucher at the time anyway. So,
Did I say that? Did I?
oh,
Yeah,
you
no, we
mentioned
never
it
say.
a while ago. Yeah.
No, good on. Who was the winner? Scotty, was it Scott?
Scott,
Won the
yeah.
50? Yeah, well done, Scott. Spend it wisely, mate. You can send a bit the fossils way. We'll go and go down to the pub and we'll have a chicken palmy, one of Will's parmigianas. William loves the palmies. But what was that? Well done anyway. But like you said, there was a few close ones there, Will, wasn't there?
Yeah, no, they're on fire this week. They're Collingwood Connection crew and well, Flag Pies on Facebook, guys. So I did say to tag your friends, but yeah, just get more people involved. So when you do have a guest, tag your friends, and we just like to get more people. I think we're up to about 150 mark now on Facebook there, Foss. So awesome to
Oh,
have you
very good.
guys in each week, and yeah, and same with the videos, like and subscribe, and leave your comments, like Paul and sorry, Hazard was it, and yeah, we love hearing from you guys. And anyway, enjoy the week, guys. We've won two in a row, and hopefully the Pies can keep going with momentum from here, Foss.
Yeah, no, that's very good, Will. And like you said, yeah, we'd like to get the family together, and we'd like to thank you too, Will. A magnificent job you do setting it all up, and hopefully we can get a few more on board. But yeah, so go Pies, and then we'd like you said, we've got a big game next week, and this is a dead set. This is the one we've got to win, Will.
Yeah, no, I know, and hopefully I'm sure there'll be a lot of supporters heading up there to make it feel like a home game. So, all right, guys, until next week, have a good one. See ya.
All right, thanks, guys. Thanks, Will. See you guys.